The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise. Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning here at 5 a.m. Good to have you with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. Of course, today is Election Day here in California, so we have a lot to talk about this morning.
5:01 is our time now, and 17 News is your local election headquarters. Today marks the recall election of Governor Gavin Newsom, with polls opening in just a matter of hours. 17's Moses Small joins us from the county's elections office with the latest. Moses?
Alex, good morning. The months-long ferocity of the campaign trail ends today as the fate of the state's highest office hangs in the balance. Here's a look at what you need to know before you hit the polls. Elections officials say over 170 polling sites will open around the county today for the state's recall election. Polls open at 7 this morning, so it's time to figure out when you're going to cast your ballot. Experts say thinking ahead can help you avoid long waiting times.
Well, it's usually busy early in the morning, people going in to vote before they go into work, and then late afternoon, usually again, on their way home from work. Yeah, oftentimes, again, if they're doing it outside of those busy, peak times, I mean, they can just walk in and vote. There really wouldn't be a wait time.
Every registered voter in the county should have received a ballot in the mail. You can bring that ballot to the polls. You can also register at any polling site today with a conditional voter registration form.
Just come in, they fill out what is essentially the information from the voter registration form. Now on election day itself, people can go to any poll site, and then the poll workers would be able to do the conditional voter registration for them.
A recent poll from UC Berkeley shows Governor Gavin Newsom is likely to come out on top, with about 60% of Californians reporting they'll vote to keep Newsom in office. But the results of this race won't be clear for hours or even days after polls close at 8 tonight.
The vast majority generally in Kern County does come in as vote by mail. They do take longer to process, obviously, as we have to check the signatures and everything else. So that's why the results take quite a while after Election Day.
The county will release a first look at vote-by-mail tallies after the last voter in Kern has cast their ballot, which will likely be around 9 tonight.
Typically, we would probably not be getting Ridgecrest in until about 1 in the morning or 1:30 even.
The latest county stats say voters are clamoring to make their votes count. About a quarter of Kern's registered voters sent in early mail-in ballots, with over 100,000 received so far.
For a special election, that is a pretty high turnout, more than we might have expected.
If you want to find the polling site closest to you, just head to kernvote.com, and we'll give you hour-by-hour updates on the race tonight on TV 17. At the County Elections Office, Moses Small, 17 News.
Thank you, Moses. President Joe Biden gave the closing pitch to a large crowd in Long Beach last night, calling the leading Republican frontrunner, conservative radio show host Larry Elder, a clone of Donald Trump.
The leading Republican running for governor is the closest thing to a Trump clone that I've ever seen in your state. No, I really mean it. Can you imagine him being governor of this state? You can't let that happen.
Earlier in the day, the president got a firsthand look at the devastation of wildfires across the state. President Biden linked the more frequent fires to climate change and talked about the need to combat extreme weather.
Larry Elder says he's optimistic he'll beat Newsom when all the votes are counted. As mentioned earlier, the latest polls suggest Newsom is in a good position to defeat Republican challengers. However, voters who want to unseat him have 46 other choices. Elder is by far the frontrunner among the challengers. He believes the Newsom camp has a weak argument.
What they say is that it's a Republican takeover. They haven't uttered these magic words. Gavin Newsom has done a fine job for the people of California because they can't. So I don't put a whole lot of stock in those polls. All I know is that people are mad. 2 million people signed the petition to have him recalled.
The 69-year-old energized supporters during a rally in Los Angeles last night, calling Newsom an abject failure for the Golden State, with poor fire, water, and power management, declining business and education, next to skyrocketing crime, homelessness, housing prices, and cost of living.
Some local Democrats will gather tonight in Northeast Bakersfield to watch election results at the Central Labor Council banquet hall, while a group of Republicans will gather at a local pizza parlor. The Kern County Republican Party will be at Rusty's Pizza, that's at 6675 Ming Avenue, starting at 7:45 tonight, and they're asking anyone who wants to join them to RSVP by email to thekerngop@gmail.com.
Today's recall election might feel like a finish line of sorts, but in some ways it is just the beginning. A primary, we might call it. We get to do it all over again in June 2022 under more familiar rules, and then again in November 2022, less than 14 months from now. So how will the outcome of today's vote affect what happens just a few months from now? 17's Robert Price talked to 3 neutral observers to get an idea.
As if politics weren't convoluted enough in normal years, now we have this odd species of democratic institution, the recall election. The outcome, in addition to whatever else it might accomplish, won't answer every political question in the state, however. In fact, this $276 million special election will create almost as many possibilities for 2022 as there are names on the ballot's second question. If Newsom survives the recall, would the top vote getter among the Republicans become the presumptive nominee to challenge him again in 2022? Not necessarily, says CSU Bakersfield political science professor Ivy Cargile, but it would transform the California Republican Party.
What we might see for November of 2022 is a newly motivated Republican Party and the state Republican Party.
Bakersfield College professor R. Alan Bolar says the Republican Party comes out of this stronger even if Newsom survives.
Democrats outnumber Republicans about 2-1 in California. And yet, the case is that during this recall, the excitement, the interest has really been on the Republican side. And even though I don't think a Republican is going to be the next governor, I think this is a bad sign right now for where Democrats are.
If Newsom is recalled, would he just try again next year? More than likely, says Cargile.
I think he would try to run for re-election in 2022. If he does get recalled, I don't think that this is the last of seeing Newsom on the political stage.
Although that's open to debate. CSUB professor Dirk Horn says Newsom would be dead in the water as far as state politics are concerned.
If Newsom loses, I think he's done in terms of state politics. There may be some type of national politics in the future, after, memories are faded, but I don't think he comes back.
Bolar agrees. The state Democratic Party would go looking for another candidate, and there's no shortage of possibilities.
I think he'd be out. I think it would be incredibly damaging to his political career. And I think Democrats would pick someone else for next year, for 2022.
But this is not a win-win for Republicans. Our panel does not see the Trump brand, personified by talk show host Larry Elder, having much success in California.
That's the conundrum that Republicans are in California. Somebody that's going to fire up the Republican base is not necessarily going to win over the general voting public.
And Elder's popularity, win or lose, could hurt the Republican with the greatest potential statewide appeal.
The person that this has hurt the most, in my mind, is Kevin Faulconer. I think people saw him as a very credible Republican nominee, and he still could be.
So there's more at stake here than just a key to the State House's executive washroom. There will be a new set of intrigues taking shape on both sides of the aisle. In Bakersfield, Robert Price, 17 News.
1 month after promising to sue Governor Newsom over recent denials of hydraulic fracturing permits, the county of Kern made good on that threat yesterday. The lawsuit filed by an Irvine law firm in Kern County Superior Court alleges the governor violated the state constitution in his efforts to institute an administrative ban on permits to extract oil in Kern through hydraulic fracturing. Back in early August, Philip Peters, chair of the Board of Supervisors, called the governor's unilateral decision to ban fracking a gross overreach of his power. In early July, 21 fracking permits filed by Era Energy were rejected. 14 additional permits were also denied in August. The county argues the permits were not rejected based on technical grounds, but rather on a bureaucrat's discretionary authority acting on the governor's orders. 17 News is your local election headquarters. Today marks the recall election of Governor Gavin Newsom, with polls opening in just a matter of hours. 17's Moses Small joins us live this morning from the county's election office with the latest on everything you need to know if you haven't cast your vote so far. Moses, good morning.
Maddie, good morning. Anticipation has been building for months as the fate of the governor's office hangs in the balance, and that all ends today. So here's a look at what you need to know before you hit the poll. Now, the polling sites open at 7 this morning, so it's time to figure out when you're going to cast your ballot. Experts say that the polls will be busiest in the early morning and in the late afternoon. That is before and after most people go to work. So thinking ahead can help you avoid long wait times. Every registered voter in the county should have received a ballot in the mail, and you can bring that ballot to the polls. You can also register at any polling site today with a conditional voter registration form.
Just come in, they fill out what is essentially the information from the voter registration form. Now, on election day itself, people can go to any poll site, and then the poll workers would be able to do the conditional voter registration for them.
The results of this race won't be clear for hours or even days after polls close at 8 tonight. The county will release a first look at vote-by-mail tallies after the last voter in Kern has cast their ballot, which will likely be around 9 tonight. If you want to find the polling site closest to you, just head to kernvote.com, and we'll bring you updates later tonight on TV 17. At the County Elections Office, Moses Small, 17 News.
Moses, thank you. Now to our daily coronavirus update in Kern County, with public health reporting 1,750 new cases, along with 5 new deaths. Those numbers encompass all tests from over the weekend, as officials do not release updates on Saturdays or Sundays. We have reached yet another grim milestone. More than 1,500 people in Kern County have died from the virus since the beginning of the pandemic. At least 63 people died in August alone, making it the 7th deadliest month during the pandemic. Public health says 98% of people hospitalized in Kern County with COVID are unvaccinated.
A nationwide bidding war for traveling nurses is underway as hospitalizations are surging. Some hospitals are paying up to $250 per hour, and it's still not enough to keep hospital floors staffed. 17's Christian Galeno has more.
Quite frankly, I mean, staffing is a challenge every shift for all 3 of our campuses.
It is happening nationwide. Nurses are in demand as COVID-19 rages on, but those working the noble profession are growing tired as the pandemic continues.
I mean, literally worn out. So we are seeing a decrease in the number of overtime shifts that people are willing to work right now.
Hospital crews grow tired. Traveling nurses are called in to help. These nurses are bouncing from hospital to hospital, getting hefty offers in exchange of a few hours on the hospital floors.
And we have had traveling nurses come, work for a few shifts, and then move on to another contract. That does create a challenge because it takes a little training time and getting up to speed.
They're here one day, they call us and say they're not going to be back. They don't really tell us what they're doing, but we do know just from the experience and talking to our traveling companies is that yeah, there's a price war going on right now. So, and it could be $25, $30 extra an hour. So definitely people are leaving with no notice.
For 17 News, I'm Christian Galeno.
Meantime, the emergency departments at Mercy and Memorial Hospitals are asking people without COVID-19 symptoms to stop coming in to ask for rapid COVID-19 testing, which is not offered at Dignity Health emergency rooms. Dignity Health says asymptomatic patients seeking rapid COVID tests are clogging up emergency rooms, causing delays in care for those in need. If you do need a COVID-19 test, we have a link to find local testing centers on our website, kget.com.
5:36 is our time now, when a man was hit and killed by a semi-truck on Highway 178 yesterday morning. It happened just after 10:15 on Highway 178 at Union Avenue. CHP says when officers arrived, they found a man dead in the middle of the road. His name has not been released. And officials yesterday released the name of a woman hit and killed by a car in southwest Bakersfield last week. It happened just after 10:30 in the morning on Wednesday in the intersection of Stein Road and Ming Avenue. Officials say 61-year-old Karina Bernal was taken to the hospital following the crash, but later died. Police are still looking for the driver of a 2020 orange or red Toyota CHR. If you know anything, you can call police.
New information this morning on an accident where a car crashed through the wall of a business in downtown Bakersfield. It happened around 3:45 yesterday afternoon at the curve of 23rd Street near C Street. According to Bakersfield police, one person in the building was hit by the car and had to be taken to the hospital. The driver was also taken to the hospital complaining of pain. BPD says speed was likely a factor in the crash, but drugs and alcohol were not.
Now to our 17 homicide tracker this morning, with a man shot and killed earlier this month, now identified. The shooting happened on Monterey Street near Union Avenue early in the morning on September 4th. That's where officials say Alvin T.C. Samuel was shot. The 23-year-old was taken to the hospital but later died.
5:37 is your time now. The Kern County Sheriff's Office is investigating what it's calling a suspicious death. Officials say 58-year-old Santiago Gomez Gamboa was found dead in Lake Woolams, east of Delano, just after 1:30 in the afternoon Friday. We reached out to KCSO for more information on the case, but they have yet to respond. Houchin Community Blood Bank is offering a pint for a pass to the Kern County Fair. Houchin's suffering, along with many other blood banks across the nation, from an ongoing blood supply shortage due to the COVID-19 pandemic. To help boost donations, they're offering a free ticket to the fair. The deal runs through October 1st. They're offering 2 free adult tickets to each whole blood donor and 4 free adult tickets to platelet and plasma donors. To schedule an appointment, visit hcbb.com.
5:39 is your time now, and you can give a furry friend a forever home this Saturday morning during the annual Clear the Shelter event. The free event begins at 8 a.m. at Bakersfield Animal Control and Bakersfield Animal Care Center and continues until the shelter is cleared. Adoptions are first come, first served, so make sure to get there early. All adoption fees are waived. Masks are required regardless of vaccine status. If you'd like to fill out an application in advance, just go to kget.com and click on the Clear the Shelters banner.
I want that one right there.
I know.
So cute. Your time now is 5:39. It's been almost 2 years since local veterans boarded an honor flight to the nation's capital, and today that changes. 180 veterans are set to board Flight 42 at Meadows Field Airport this morning for the first honor flight since March of 2020. The group will be welcomed home Thursday night at North High's football stadium. The flight is set to return home around 7 p.m. Organizers say the group will hopefully arrive at North High by 8 p.m. Honor Flight is urging families and community members to come out and show their support with signs and banners.
Yeah, flight number 42 in Kern County, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, the fact that this is again the first flight in nearly 2 years, so it's great to see that they were able to resume these flights. This one this morning is a chartered flight, so that's always neat to see that they're able to have enough donations to charter a plane with just our veterans to go to D.C. It is a whirlwind trip, though.
Yeah, they're in for an exhausting couple of days, but so worth it. According to every veteran we've spoken to who's gotten to go on these trips, and everyone who gets to be there to help welcome them home and send them off. Really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.